Yes, today we're going to be driving to Jacksonport State Park, which is a old county seat which was abandoned fairly early on before the turn of the last century, and so the old buildings have kind of been lost to time. It's now a state park. Now we're at the Waffle House and we're going to eat waffles.
Martin, triple scrambled double flake, scattered smothered, and a blueberry waffle. Blueberry. But she wants it done. I think that's a pretty good piece. Okay, good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I got that. Okay. Marlboro has some scattered colored dice, peppered cap. And a large plate.
saw it coming into town, a Arkansas classic. Shipley's Donuts, make life delicious. D-O-N-U-T-S. Established 1936.
Going off-road.
Okay, let's look into the Arkansas State Park guide, see what it has to say. In the 1800s, steamboats made Jacksonport a thriving river port. During the Civil War, Confederate and Union forces occupied the town because of its location at the confluence of the White and Black rivers. Jacksonport became the county seat in 1852, and the restored courthouse now stands as a museum. Facilities include a visitor center with exhibits, 20 Class A campsites, a swimming beach, pavilion, picnic sites, a playground, and a half-mile Hun-style riverwalk. So the visitor center doesn't open until 1. It's not that time yet, so we're going to wait. We're going to walk around. We're going to see the historic courthouse and the other grounds. Here on June 5, 1865, Confederate General Jeff Thompson formally surrendered the Army of the North Arkansas to the Union military authorities. More than 5,000 officers and enlisted men who served under Thompson were paroled here, as were several hundred more Confederate soldiers from other commands. At the time of surrender, the Confederates were almost without food and weapons and had no equipment except dugout canoes. General Jeff Thompson made his farewell address to his men from the deck of a steamboat. Rock and roll groupie.
Yeah. She's I should show you.
Uh-huh.
The whole inside is decoupage with old album covers and
Oh,
concert
cool.
tickets
Cool.
from 1965. Should I
wow.
open the door so you can
Yeah,
see?
yeah.
I didn't make it up while I was. I realized I was in the road either.
I'm from Arkansas. I just moved back a couple weeks ago, actually.
From?
From D.C.
Oh, woohoo! So excited. So see all the.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cute?
That's so cool.
I had a good time. And I tried to do, as we went around,
Right.
So here the Pink Floyd and Rolling Stones and all that. I had a good time.
Jacksonport was one of the main mustering points for the Confederate Army in Arkansas. Throughout the war, both armies contended for possession of this strategic port, located at the center of the White and Black River trade. The Confederate attack on Helena was planned here in 1863 by Generals Sterling Price and Theliphanus H. Holmes. At various times, Jacksonport was headquarters for such noted military leaders as Frederick Steele, Earl Van Dorn, John S. Marmaduke, Danridge Ray, and Joe Shelby. And of course, everyone remembers Theliphanus H. Holmes. Thomas Todd Tunstall laid out the town of Jacksonport in the mid-1830s. He built a hotel and several businesses along the riverfront. By 1840, several buildings had been added. The town grew and was incorporated on December 17, 1852. In 1853, the county seat was moved here from Augusta, Arkansas. Jacksonport was at its peak in the decades just before and leading up to the Civil War. As rail transportation increased, however, the importance of the river declined, and so did Jacksonport. Later on, the county seat was moved, and then that's what gave us the buildings that kind of sat here, were not used, and in the 1960s, the Historical Society took it over. Fairly quickly after that, the state park took ownership of the land. I believe the County Historical Society continued to maintain the property and keep it up. There was also a fairly large restoration in the 80s, and then that brought it back to a restored state, but not necessarily to a pristine shape. So more recently, within the last decade, they've gone back and truly restored everything back to the original finishes and replacing door hardware, etc., that had been missing. 1861 to 1865. Confederate soldiers. Okay, here's some of the symbols here. Oh no, you're a good action shot.
Okay.
We're standing in the backside of the visitor center. The architect is Polk, Stanley, Wilcox of Little Rock. It's a fairly new visitor center constructed and completed last year. It's won several design awards. So Jacksonport, like many cities of the time, was brought about and facilitated by the river traffic. Also, like those times, there was a lot of flooding, disarray when it would flood over. So eventually levees were built in the Arkansas Delta. You have a tall earthen levee or concrete wall system going along a majority of the city for protection. Visitor Center is meant as a kind of parallel extension or mirroring of that typology and brought over to the Visitor Center. As you can see from the front, it's also the metaphor of a bridge, the bridge of connecting the North and South over the historical point of the Civil War. And then it also symbolizes a dog trot archetype, which is a very prevalent traditional building form in the South in humid regions where you really needed to access the breeze to keep the family cool. And by creating an outdoor space between two rooms on the bottom, sometimes they were one story, sometimes they were two story, but the breezeway in the middle was exactly that, a way to use the force of the wind and dynamics to keep a kind of a primitive air conditioning system. It's now about 1:30, so we're gonna have a chance now to go inside the visitor center and check that out. Let's go.
Walk around, check it out.
This spot on the rivers made it perfect for trade. The endless woods and swamps were perfect for hunting and trapping. We traded with the Indians guns or ammunition for food. We caught bear, beaver, mink, and raccoon for pelts. We almost always had fresh meat. We had to watch out for bear, but if we used good sense, mostly things turned out fine. The rugged life in Arkansas Territory was the life for us. Those were the good old days.
My dear son, never have I witnessed a prouder moment as a mother or as a citizen of our fair Jacksonport as when you and our fine men of Jacksonport answered the call of battle by forming the Jackson Guards and marching towards an uncertain future to defend and protect what we hold so dear. The ladies and I made the flag that will forever lead the Jackson Guards. We needed to do something in the face of all your bravery. Tell the men that Judge Robinson's wife bought the silk in Memphis, and that Mrs. Densford made the stars, and all of us, young and old, had a hand in it. People here talk about the need for protecting the Black and White rivers. They are so important for trade and transportation in times of peace. It is hard to conceive of their significance in the time of war. Love eternally, Mother.
July 1862. Dear Mother, I hold fast to the memory of our Jacksonport departure, seemingly a lifetime ago. The rain poured in torrents as we marched to the church where the flag was presented to us. Every living soul in town was there. Streets, yards, and church overflowed with people. We felt very grand as we watched the young ladies present the flag. We thought they were the sweetest girls living and the most beautiful. I had only heard information secondhand concerning the battles of our fair town. I heard word that General Hyman ordered bales of cotton to be burned and molasses to be dumped in order to avoid them from falling into the hands of the Federals. He also sent the steamer Murphy up the White River to destroy what cotton the Union Army had stockpiled. I miss you terribly. Love, your son.
My dear son, it seems almost easier for the men to go to the army than for the poor, anxious women to watch and work without any news of our loved ones for many long months. I guess we are fortunate in not being in the thickest of the fight. Still, we endure many hardships. I can tell you that both armies take our food from us. People are in danger when they go out. They might be kept prisoner for 2 or 3 weeks by malcontents. We hid our corn in thickets and our meat in holes in the ground. We dug up our smokehouse and boiled the dirt for salt. We had sassafras tea and parched meal coffee. Those hardships pale in comparison to waiting each day for your letters. I know you write when you can, but I have not heard from you for the longest time. I love you, Mother. June 6th, 1865. Dear Diary, I must believe that my son's death was justified and that he fought for his convictions, my convictions, our convictions. Looking back on it all can cause a mother to waver. Jacksonport, my hometown, seemed to have changed hands half a dozen times since the Jackson Guards marched out of the church on that rainy day. fighting over this same plot of land could seem so senseless. It speaks to the importance of controlling our twin rivers and the lives that were lost to that measure. Yesterday, Brigadier General Jeff Thompson surrendered many thousands of Confederate soldiers at Jacksonport. The large crowd included soldiers and most of the civilians who remained in Jacksonport, as well as many families and friends of the troops from around the county. General Thompson spoke solemnly, telling us that our cause was over and that we were beaten. However, he could not sustain this solemn control for long. He struck out and gave vent to that deep and human anger that wells up against defeat after a prolonged and bone-breaking effort. He expressed our frustration and the impossibility of reforming our courageous men, half-naked, half-starved, and war-weary men, into an effective army again. I couldn't help but feel your presence, son, at this momentous event in our town's history, and remember proudly your contribution.
We got some great Arkansas Americana coming up here. The USPS mobile trailer office. Here we are on a busy Sunday, walking down the middle of Main Street.
Continue for 3/4 of a mile.
So now we're in the city of Newport, which is the larger city that the county seat moved to once Jacksonville was decommissioned and the railroad line came through here. So you're going to see shots of the train depot. And behind me, totally sweet bank. We're back in the alley, original sash windows. You can even see kind of up there, there's a hoist beam, a I-beam coming out, and a second floor door to hoist materials up to the second floor. Next we're going to head to this bank over here. Looks like a 1960s high modern design. Here we see 1920s Federalist style post office.